Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 143. I'm Kathy Rhodes. Thank you for joining us. I'm very excited because we're going to think differently today with my friend, Samuel Fleming. Samuel, I was actually at your wedding.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been married?
It's been 10 years.
10 years. So I've known Samuel and his wife, Lori, for more than 10 years? I don't even know. But this is the beauty of knowing people and growing together, because then we start doing similar things and intriguing things, and now I want to think differently with you today.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so excited.
Okay, good. Because today what we're going to talk about is something called working genius.
Yeah, actually the full title is The 6 Types of Working Genius.
Okay, so let's dive in. I know this is it Patrick Lencioni?
That's correct, yeah.
He wrote a book. He has created an assessment program.
Yep.
Talk to me about what is this, and what do you do as a working genius consultant?
So the 6 Types of Working Genius, it's a tool that was created to help understand how work gets completed. So the 6 types are also the 6 stages of work. But what's really neat about it is we all have geniuses in different parts of the 6 types. And what's a little different sometimes is that we don't always see each other that way. I know you talk about that, right? Like, yeah. I can see myself the way I see myself, and you see yourself the way you see yourself, and we assume that everybody around us is like us. But in fact, we're not, right?
Right. We're people.
Yes, we're people, that's right.
We're people, and we're all different. We all have different preferences and strengths. And okay, so let's back up, because I'm a little slow sometimes. Let's just back up to the whole idea of working on a team. So let's pretend that I work in corporate America. I have a team. I used to be on an IT team, right? I was part of the IT department. And in comes a working genius consultant with this book by Patrick Lencioni and this assessment. How do you find out my geniuses?
So the thing with the geniuses is that they are the things that bring us joy and energy when we come to work. So it's not that we can't do all 6. We're more than capable of doing all 6. It's just that certain things we really derive joy and energy from. So when you approach that assessment, you should be looking at it not as I'm skilled at, it's when I get to work and I get to do these things, I'm filled with joy and energy. Which is really neat, because suddenly when you can see, hey, this is where I'm filled with joy and energy, and this is what really makes me want to do work, suddenly you can be so much more effective because you can lean into those things. And on the flip side, of course, there's also things that are going to cause us frustration. Mm-hmm. And those things, when we understand, okay, this is something that naturally I'm going to be frustrated doing, well, now I can work a little differently, work around them maybe, or maybe someone can help me work in them.
Maybe you can partner with somebody who does it, who finds joy in it, and you don't have to do it.
In fact, a great example is, we'll go into a little bit more detail what the things are, but the very last one is called Tenacity. And I am not tenacious in my 6 types. So I happen to be married to a woman who is tenacious, and she can help me tons to get through those things. Because when I go out to do a project, even around our house, let's say when we were building our deck 5 years ago, I would build, a bit, and I got, had fun designing it and coming up with the idea. But getting it finished took me forever. So just her helping me push along and saying, hey, let's do this bit now, and so on, really helped. But let's back up a little bit.
Okay, good.
Let's back up to what the 6 types are. So again, it's the 6 stages, and they start with wonder, which is the stage.
I have wonder, I know that.
Yeah, you have wonder, which is fun. I love it, at least, because I'm also a wonder.
Do you have wonder? Okay.
Yes. So wonder is the stage where you get to look at the big picture and just kind of observe it, and you ask questions back usually. So you take some time, and often they're the kind of person who likes to just kind of sit and let thoughts kind of just wander around. And so they take that time and they ask those questions. It might be something as simple as, do we need a new product? Or, it could be something as crazy as, is our business organized the right way to attack the market that we're in? And so these questions are put out there by these people.
Right.
And it's almost always focused on change or improvement.
Oh, that's where one of my values is efficiencies.
Yeah.
I mean, walking through my house, I will take the most efficient route. And that's probably related to my wonder.
Yeah, it could very well
I can
be.
see those kind of connecting a little bit.
And actually, I know that you're also tenacious.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you're a wonder
Am I?
tenacity. And so I actually know that the two combined is probably part of that. You're wondering and you're seeing, let's get this done as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my fuel.
Yeah.
Don't waste time there. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah, it's super fun. So as soon as that question comes out, whatever it is, you need somebody to answer that, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you come up with the next stage, the inventor. And these people, they walk into the world every day and they just want to create stuff. It doesn't matter what it is or where they're creating it. They just love to create stuff. And so they hear these questions and they go, ooh, I think I have a solution for that. Let me, try jotting this out or scribbling it on a board or whatever, and they just, their heads are always full of ideas. Often, if you're an inventor, you probably have a notebook full of ideas that you've jotted down, even if they have nothing to do with anything else. You just were sitting there one day and you thought, ooh, I could create this,
Are these people problem solvers just naturally?
Yeah, they love solving problems. It is interesting because really the problem-solving system is the first three. So you get that person asking the question, then you get the person answering the question, and then the third stage is the stage of discernment. And discernment is really cool because these are the people who can, with almost just an innate instinct, can see whether something is going to fit where it needs to go.
Ooh, or fail.
Or fail, yes, exactly. So
Interesting.
the inventor is coming up with all this stuff, and the discerner can say, you know what, this one's great, let's run with it. This one needs maybe a little more work, or maybe even, this is not the right one, let's try again, And so the discerner has that ability to really help guide us as to where we should go. And so like you were saying, the problem solving is kind of all three of those together. So you get the person asking the question and the person coming up with the new idea and the person helping guide that idea to the right solution. It's almost its own stage of work in its own sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you see that interaction there and it kind of goes back and forth to some degree and it's really neat. But then once the discerner has something that they're saying, hey, let's run with this. This is a great idea. That's where you need your next stage. And that's the stage of galvanizing. And we all need these people, right? We often think of them as the natural leader because they can walk into a room and they can get everybody excited about something. Whatever it is, they can just walk in and be like, guys, let's go do this.
I think that's my husband. That is so him. If I need something done with the kids, I tell him and he goes and tells the kids.
It's funny you say that because galvanizing is one of my frustrations. And my wife happens to have what we call a competency in it, which means it's somewhere between a frustration and a genius. And so we actually had a discussion kind of like that, where it was like, I have such a hard time getting the kids out the door. If you could just lean into your competency a little bit and help us out.
The lingo in the family format, using this lingo to pull out the working genius. I love that. I love that. Okay.
Yeah, so that it's really neat. So then we get that guy there, or woman, who can really get everybody excited and get them going. And then you need somebody to answer to that.
Yeah.
And that's the next stage. So enablers. And these people are amazing because they hear the call and they go, I'm in. What do you need me to do?
So
and they
they're
jump
the
in.
doers. I'm also hearing they're the ones physically doing the task. Okay.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
And so they love answering that. And the interesting thing about them especially, wonders are a little bit this way too, but them especially, is they don't see themselves as geniuses because we have been taught our whole lives we need to do things for others.
Oh.
And so they just assume I'm being a nice person. But really, it's a genius because I have a competency in it, so I can do it some, but I can't do it to the level that they can do it. Can I learn from them? Sure. And we probably should. But at the same time, what a genius to be able to say, hey, we know this person is ready to just jump in and take stuff for us when we need to get things, when the rubber needs to hit the road.
Right.
Now, what's interesting about the enabler is because they love to answer that call, they have a little tiny bit of a problem with it in that they'll answer the call today and then they'll hear the call tomorrow and they'll answer that call too. And then on the third day, they're answering a call as well. Now they have 3 different projects on their desk. They're all started, none of them are completed. And that's where we need the last stage of tenacity. They come in and they love just hammering things out. One of the things that I love always saying about a tenacious person is they have their checklist. They've got it all carefully written out, and they're checking things off as they go. And if they are asked to do something or they happen to do something off their checklist, they will put it on that checklist and check it off.
Yes, that's my world.
Yes.
But also I hear you saying they're very systemized. It's
Very systemized.
The system to close the project.
Correct.
There's
Yeah.
a system to it. So.
Yeah, they bring it to the end for us, which is amazing. And it's super helpful.
Okay, so there's 6 geniuses. Do people have all 6 within them?
Right. So this goes back to the geniuses, competencies, and frustrations. And here's how I like to explain it. You can think of a car. If a car were coasting down a hill, how long could it coast down that hill?
All the way.
Yeah, as long as that hill keeps going, it can
Right.
keep coasting, right? And so that's like your geniuses. You can work in those all day, and you will just love it. You'll keep going and going and going. On the flip side of the coin, if you have a car climbing a steep hill, it's going to be able to do it, right? But eventually it's going to use up all of that fuel.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to refill it. And that's like your frustrations. You can do them. You're going to be able to climb that hill, but it's going to just drain you real quickly. And you're going to have a lack of joy and energy as you're doing these things. And then finally, in the middle, you've got your competencies. And I like to think of this like a car that's on a highway. Most cars can go, 600-700 miles on the highway between fill-ups. So, same with your competencies in the Genius system. You can go a long way with them before you're going to need a fill-up, but eventually you will need a fill-up still even doing those.
So it's kind of a priority. I mean, geniuses, the first 2 in the ratings are your highest strengths, and then it kind of goes down all the way to number 6, which might be your lowest strength.
Right, yep.
Is that right?
Yep,
All right,
for sure.
Look at it.
And we haven't really distinguished too carefully amongst the 2 in each category. So generally when we look at, your geniuses, we're going to just tell you these are your 2 geniuses.
Okay.
Is there going to be a difference? For sure. And you probably will be able to say, you know what, I come with this one first and then this one.
I see.
Or I struggle more with this one than this one. But we generally just kind of rate them that way because it's the ease of language, right?
Sure.
Because if I show up and I tell you, it's a little bit of the problem with Myers-Briggs, right? It's 16 things.
I can't
it's
remember.
too many.
It's too
Exactly.
many. Yeah.
So that's why we try to keep it a little bit simpler. Yeah, there's more nuance that we can dive into and such, but it's not, the goal isn't to be super nuanced. The goal is to have a way to communicate to each other, really.
Okay, so when did this come out? Like 3 years ago?
Yeah, it's been 3 years, yeah.
And thank you to you and your wife who introduced us to it right away. And we took the assessment. Well, this past March, John and I were in the room when Patrick Lencioni was on stage sharing his Working Geniuses. And so we pulled up on our phones the PDF of the report, right? Because I couldn't remember. I took it once and then I was like, I don't remember. So we pulled it up on our phone, which was great. We were able to follow what Patrick was saying. But what was really cool is my husband's assistant took his as well. And meanwhile, I was texting my assistant, AKA your wife.
Yeah.
Like, tell me again. I'm looking past Facebook messengers and texts to find out what her geniuses were. Especially my husband. His 2 frustrations, one of them is my genius and the other one is his assistant's genius.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And I thought of all the other assessment tools, right? Because I focus on DISC a lot. How when we partner with the right people and we create the right team, we're not in competition, we're not in frustration, we're embracing each other's genius.
Right, exactly.
And we need each other because it's not always our strength zone.
Exactly.
And is that the whole purpose? Is this why this is coming as more like a team tool within different environments?
Right. And so obviously it's the personality, but then it is bringing it together with the team is where the real genius of it, if you will,
right.
comes. So I think you asked earlier, what does the consultant do, right?
Yes.
And so when I come to a team, my goal is to give them a tool that they can then take to their everyday language and help each other, So a wanderer shows up and they're going to want to wonder,
Right.
And a tenacious person shows up and they're going to want to knock things out. And a discerner shows up and they're going to want to evaluate things. And if they only stay in their natural states, you're going to have a lot of conflict and strain and people disagreeing with each other or just not even seeing how they're approaching each other. And so as soon as you give them that language, hey, you're a wanderer. We love your wondering. That's an amazing gift that God has given you. But right now we're actually hammering this thing out. We don't need you to keep asking questions.
To wonder. Oh,
yeah.
Very good. So you are creating a lingo within the team, but also an understanding to embrace the strengths of each person, but embrace the moment the project is in.
Correct. Yep.
And not try to push your genius all the time.
Right.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Good. Yeah. And I love it because actually, when you even come to a meeting, you can actually set the tone. You can come into the meeting and say, okay, right now we're at a brainstorming session. So really, brainstorming is a lot of wonder and invention and kind of letting them bounce back and forth. So we want that tenacious person there because they're part of the team. And we don't want the team to feel like, well, you're not a valuable person in this meeting.
Right.
Everybody is obviously valuable in all meetings. But we want them to understand that if they keep jumping in and saying, hey, I don't think we can execute that, that's going to be too hard to figure out. Or, well, I'm going to start hammering on that now. That's going to slow down the meeting because the goal is to brainstorm. Mm-hmm. So, just even giving them that opportunity to kind of check themselves even, and say, hey, okay, I know I'm tenacious, but right now is not the time to really start hammering things.
Right.
And then, of course, it goes down the list. Obviously, you could have the opposite happen. And like I was saying a minute ago, you could have the meeting where it's like, okay, we need to make sure we can finalize these systems and start completing them. Well, if you have an inventor walk in and go, hey guys, I've got 10 new ideas, let's do all of them, you're suddenly derailing the train again, but in a different way. So, yeah, it's an awesome way to just help teams really make sure that they're following, where they need to be and executing the way they should.
So I'm a sucker for assessments.
Yes.
Right? I love them all, and I try to take them all. What makes Working Genius different than other assessments that are out there?
So the biggest difference is, even though this is a personality assessment, it really is about work.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So because it's the 6 stages of work, it's not, hey, what are you good at? It's, hey, where can you fit into the work? Or where are you fitting in strongest in the work? And where can we fill in gaps? And in fact, that kind of goes back a little bit to like we were talking about with the team. Yeah. If you show up at a team and they're missing 2 stages or missing a stage, then suddenly we know, okay, you guys are probably struggling to get from one point to the other. Or if you're not struggling to do it, maybe you're missing out on something. Like, for example, if you're missing invention, but you've got all 5 of the other ones, you're going to be skipping that over. And so you might be just kind of recirculating the same things over and over. So the difference is that it can be applied directly to a team quickly, and it's about work.
So when you say they might be missing a stage of work, they might be physically missing the right person on the team.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we still have to have all the stages happening in a project, I'm thinking.
Right.
But yet, if you don't have somebody who's just naturally got that working genius, you've got a gap.
Yep. And obviously we could go through all 6. It would take a little longer than we probably have right now. But yeah, that's that idea that since we all tend to lean into our geniuses naturally, we'll miss out on something if we don't have people plugged into those spouts.
Well, I know many times when I'm doing different behavioral assessments and working with teams, we want to hire for the gaps.
Right.
And sometimes people feel like, no, we don't, because we don't get along with the people that aren't like us. We want to hire like us. And
right.
Yeah, we can't do that. We need to hire for the gaps. And now you're breaking out a whole project and plugging in where the gaps are so that you're fully represented.
Yep. And there are ways to work around gaps. You can use competencies, of course. Those are there. But you can also, especially if you're a team that's part of a larger team, maybe you can borrow somebody. say, hey,
Oh, sure.
you're an inventor over here. We need some invention. Can you join us for, these 3 meetings?
How much fun would that be?
Wouldn't it?
To just sit and give ideas and then walk right out of the whole project and not like wash your hands from it. I did my job.
Or, how about on more the tenacious side, right? Wouldn't it be so fun if someone said, hey, I need this Excel document, set up the way I need it set up. Could you hammer that out for
You're
me?
talking my language.
Exactly.
You're so talking.
And see, the funny thing is, just a quick story. When I got started in the 6 types of working genius, I was working at a job that required a ton of tenacity and a bit of enablement as well.
Oh, you don't have tenacity.
No, and enablement is just a competency for me. So I'm sitting there just absolutely dying and shriveling up, and it's driving me insane. But my wife happens to be tenacious. And so she's sitting there going, I don't understand why you don't enjoy this job. It seems like so much fun. I could create spreadsheets and I could create databases and all these things. And I'm sitting there going, oh, you're killing me.
So at what point did you realize, were you in your other job when you took this assessment and you started to define where you are in the world and maybe where you should move to?
Yeah, so I was actually working that job. And actually I had been there for about 3 years. And was miserable for about 2 of those years. Oh. And I took this assessment, and as soon as I took it, I went, oh my goodness.
Duh.
This is what's going on.
Wow.
So, yeah, and then I was able to pivot and move on.
Oh, interesting. Okay, this is thinking differently, right? So what, I guess, how do leaders think differently when they're using this type of tool with their team?
So I think the biggest ways leaders can think differently when they're using the 6 types of working genius is to realize geniuses are individual, right? And so we can, instead of just assigning things to different people because that's their title or that's the position we hired them for or whatever, we can say, hey, I know that you're really going to enjoy this and you're going to probably have a lot of skill in it, so I can give you this piece. And just even moving your team around like that. I was talking to somebody at a fast food restaurant the other day, and they have someone in the back of the house, running the kitchen, who is an inventor. They also happen to be tenacious, so obviously they're really leaning into their tenacity when they're working in that kitchen. But they're probably not using their invention in the kitchen quite as much because, you just got to hammer out hamburgers. That's the job. But he said, no, we actually do a lot of inventing in other parts of the business. And I said, okay, well then give them an opportunity to invite them into that invention space because you're lacking it in the other areas of your business. So let that person have a little bit of time to come and join you and invent. And so it's that using people to their biggest strengths.
That's good. That's really good. It's almost like you're a fortune teller when you can go to an employee and say, I think you're going to enjoy this.
For
and
sure.
They're right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, and I know during our conversation, we're just dabbling into the basics of what is this working genius assessment, because it really is fairly new in the
It is, for
in
sure.
the world. Who is Patrick Lencioni? What do you do as a consultant? So thank you for educating us and kind of giving us a taste of what it would be. If somebody wants more information, number one, how do they get in contact with you and learn more about what you do? But also, what do you recommend they do as their next step?
Well, the next step I would generally say is go ahead and take the assessment yourself. It's actually at workinggenius.com. Okay. You can log in, create your own profile and all that, and then take the assessment and just see what you've got. But bringing somebody in like myself, and if you're working with a team, especially if you're a team leader, can really open up a lot of ideas and potential there.
That's true.
So you'd find me, I'm on LinkedIn, Samuel Fleming on there, and then also my website is Fleming, that's FLEMING.biz.
Okay.
And on there you can find my contact information and such, and I would love to come in and just chat with you and show you how we can use this tool to great potential for your team.
Friends, I know I do a lot of assessments as well, and you can go online, you can find things and kind of figure out your report and your results, but there's so much value in working with somebody who has just dived deep into the research and the analysis, because we get stuck in our ways. We get stuck in our habits, our geniuses, our frustrations, whatever it may be, and we forget that there's others out there. And we need somebody just unbiased, looking in and redirecting us and keeping us on a path so that our team really gets done what we want it to get done. So don't dismiss the value of somebody who is truly a consultant with this product. Is there any other bit of information or one last thought that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I think my biggest thing that I would leave you with is that we have our strengths, and when we focus on our strengths only and we forget that other people are different than us, that's when we're going to create the most tension on a team, because we assume that everybody else is like us and we forget that we aren't all the same.
Thank goodness.
Exactly, and we need each other.
Right, that's good. That's good. It seems like that's exactly what I tell my customers too. We can't only focus on ourselves. Awesome, Samuel, thank you. This is good stuff, and it's so much fun to dive into this working genius concept and all that is being created in the working genius world. So thank you for joining. We'll see you on the next podcast where we'll go maybe a little deeper into the next level.
Sounds great.
All right, see y'all next time.